The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow was the quietest place in the world besides being haunted. Nothing much happened there until the night of the Van Tassel party. Ichabod Crane marched into the party with his head held high. His tall frame and baggy clothes resembled a scarecrow. He was at the party for one reason: Katriana Van Tassel. Katriana stood out a party like a red rose on a snowy day. She chatted with Broom Van Brunt. He was broad, shattered, and strong. Broom enjoyed riding around on his horse, Daredevil. He was known for pulling pranks and causes mischief around town. From Van Brunt, also like Katriana, Broom. Ichabod mustered his resolve and went straight up to them. "Excuse me, Katriana," Ichabod said. "Would you care to dance?" Broom Van Brunt's face turned as red as a boiled lobster. "I love to dance," Katriana said as she grasped Ichabod's hand. Ichabod and Katriana twirled around the dance floor as if there were no tomorrow. Their joyful and lively dance caught the attention of everyone at the party. Ichabod imagined he could dance his way right into Katriana's heart. The longer Ichabod and Katriana danced, the more jealous Broom Van Brunt became. When the band took a break, Ichabod and Katriana stopped for a drink at the punch bowl. There stood Broom, sharing ghost stories with a group of friends. "I'll tell you the scariest ghost story of all," said Broom Van Brunt. He stared directly at Ichabod. Have you ever heard of the Headless Horseman?" "No," Ichabod muttered and gulped. Brom began to whisper, and the group leaned in closer. "Every night at midnight, he rides through town on his horse, looking for his missing head," Broom said. "I've seen him with my very own eyes. I have riding along late at night when this fellow came trotting up. I asked him if he wanted a race. He didn't say a word because he didn't have a head." "So I took on Daredevil from below, and he came tearing up behind me. I raced him and up to the church bridge. Once his horse set foot on the bridge, he disappeared in a flash of fire." The audience stood in tense silence. "If you ever see the Headless Horseman," Broom Van Brunt said, "head to the other side of the church bridge. Otherwise, you're done for. Of course, if you're as fast as me, you have nothing to worry about." "It was really brave on you," Katriana said. She looked at Broom with delight and admiration. Ichabod took one look at Broom and grunted. "Great imaginary story." Jealous of Catriana's admiration for Broom, Ichabod took her hand and pulled her toward the dance floor. They danced few more songs from Brew Van Brunt's story was stuck in Ichabod's head. Just before midnight, Ichabod said farewell to Catriona and promised to visit her soon. Then he climbed on the tired old plough horse he had borrowed from a local farmer and set off home. The wind whistled through the branches. An old owl shrieked. The headless horseman filled Ichabod's mind. He attempted to sing to soothe himself, but his normally stunning voice caught in his throat. Then he heard another sound coming up behind him, a horse. The horse and rider trotted up next to Ichabod, but it was too dark to see them. Good evening, Ichabod said. The rider said nothing. Up ahead, Ichabod could make out the church bridge. He started to ride a little faster. The rider marched his place. This is strange fog we're having, Ichabod said, trying to make conversation. Again, the rider said nothing. The moon slid out of behind the cloud. Ichabod looked over at the rider and froze. The rider had no head. In his hand, the rider had a huge pumpkin that seemed to glow in the moonlight. He raised it high above where his head should have been as it burst into flames. Ichabod screamed and kicked the side of his horse. The horse barely sped up. The safety of the church bridge waited up ahead. Faster, Ichabod yelled to his old plough horse. Almost there. The rider was close, but then Ichabod heard his horse hooves stomped on the wooden bridge. He sighed with relief. I made it, Ichabod screamed. He heard the rider horse behind him. He turned to look from the safety of the bridge. A flash of flame rushed toward him, and all went dark. The next morning, a schoolboy discovered Ichabod's horse grazing in a field by the church on the ground next to the old bridge. He found Ichabod's hat and scorched pumpkin. Ichabod himself had disappeared. Not long after Ichabod vanished from Sleepy Hollow, Catriona and Broom were married. Then folks told the stories about Ichabod Crane. Broom Van Brunt was always mine. Some said Broom drove Ichabod away. Others who knew about such things swore the headless horseman has taken him on that dark night.